Good day traders, I hope everyone is standing strong out there. We have seen continued volatility and some surprising price action across the board. But overall, I think for those of you who watch our videos, you would have at least been well positioned to leverage off what the market managed to throw to you. For this week, we have a nice jam-packed lineup once again, and we will take a deep dive into what to expect for the week ahead. So for this week, I'm going to start with the US dollar to South African rand, and you'll see I've also enabled my monthly pivots for the new month, also my new weekly pivots as well as last week's pivots, just to see what exactly happened in the markets last week as well. So looking at the ZAR, we can see that we had some strong support in the area that we've identified. Price came very close to this diagonal support that we've identified, and we can see where our price actually find that support right on our yearly pivot, which is of course very important at 15 Rand 20 to the US dollar. That was also where we had our weekly pivot from last week. This week we can see that we are seeing a slight recovery towards the new monthly pivot, and how we can see how price tagged that daily 50 SMA before pulling back ever so slightly. For this week, I'm expecting the upside momentum to possibly continue. We do have some resistance from the new weekly R1, so that would be sitting at this area. Let me just move that price tag quickly, so we can see our weekly R1 is at 1582. So that would be a possible area for resistance for the week, should price continue with the current bullish momentum. And if we see any kind of breakout, I'm pretty sure we will very soon hit this area of resistance from our monthly R1 as well as the weekly R2, as well as some previous horizontal resistance, all converging at this 1607, or let's just say rather 1605 to about 1610 level. In terms of support, the yearly pivot will remain important support, and I do not necessarily foresee price breaking below that in the near term. Moving on to the EURUSD. EURUSD, in line with our expectation over the last few weeks, has indeed broken down. We can see that we had this very big double top formation that we've identified quite a few times over the last few months, and we can see how price has now broken this what we call a bearer flag below diagonal support, and it then quickly reached that target area where we had our support at 1.115, which is of course the area of support that we identified last week as well. From here, it's possible that we do see a slight recovery or a correction towards the weekly pivot, that is at 1.124. But of course, with this type of momentum, it's also possible that we see further continuation down to perhaps the monthly S1 or even this yearly S1 pivot. Looking at the GBPUSD, of course, we would expect something very similar on the GBPUSD as that of the EURUSD. This one has also played out in line with our expectations and this bearish continuation. So after that rejection on the daily 200 SMA, and of course also that yearly pivot, we can see how price continued down in this range that we've highlighted, and we can see we have our target all the way down at 1.327, and already we are very close to that target, meaning we've already taken out our take profit 1 as well as take profit 2, and hopefully now heading towards that final target at 1.327. The Euro GBP remains the one Forex pair that just doesn't want to play along. We are currently trading almost at our stop loss level, perhaps even tagged it once again. We still have that diagonal support, and it's interesting the way we see that rejection from this area of previous structure support, which is also now of course the new monthly R1. At this stage it would be safe to say we will have to wait and see whether we can see a stage recovery back above the monthly pivot, coinciding with the new weekly pivot as well. And once we do see that, and especially if we take out that monthly R1, that will, I'm pretty sure, start this recovery process towards the top of this falling wedge, where we have our yearly pivot at 0.862. Alternatively, if we do continue to break down further, it's difficult to say where price might go, but we can see we have our S1, S2 monthly pivots quite a bit down from where we're currently trading. Looking at the GBPNZD, this one we were also expected to find some strong resistance at this area of this diagonal resistance. That was also, if I'm not mistaken, was one of the key pivots from key monthly pivots from last month. We are currently trading above the yearly R1, and this is a bit strange actually, because typically you see the yearly pivots respected to some extent, but nevertheless, as we can see, we found strong resistance from the weekly R3 last week, and whenever price tags the weekly R3, you know there has been some exuberant momentum, and typically that results in a pullback the next week. So there would of course be a very high probability for price to now pull back this week, and with the new monthly pivot at 2.02, and I'll just move this price level to that level, so that would be a key level of course to keep an eye out for. I'm pretty sure if we just speak in terms of probabilities, that we'll see price move into this area, and of course we'll review that again next week to see how that did play out. But I'm pretty sure we'll see price move into this area of the week, the monthly pivot. And if we do reject that level strong enough, we'll likely also head into this area of the monthly S1 pivot, coinciding with the weekly S2, which would of course also probably meet up with that daily 50 SMA. Looking at our AUDUSD, Australian dollar USD, this one has also played along so far. We've had this consolidation and rejection from the daily 100 as well as the daily 50 SMAs. Then we had that break of the diagonal support, meaning we had a bear flag, and this one has reached the target of the bear flag. But in terms of support, we can see we have our yearly S1 pivot a little ways down, still at 0.683. So and just judging from that momentum, I think we will be able to reach that target, although there might be a slight pullback towards either the weekly pivot at this 0.705 or the monthly pivot at 0.708. So just keep an eye out for those that little zone over there, as we might see a slight pullback towards this zone and then continuation lower. Looking at the GBPCAD, we can see this one is still struggling with this convergence of the daily 200 to 150 SMAs. It's still all, how can I say, all entangled in this area. This has been a previous area of resistance, and we did initially break above it and then got rejected from that yearly pivot. And just thinking back to that GBPNZD where I mentioned, when price do break, one of the important yearly pivots, it typically does tend to pull back, as we can see in this example. So it broke through the yearly pivot and then came back, and I'm probably expecting something very similar for the GBPNZD. But just back to GBPCAD, at this stage I think we are rejecting, and this is just based on Friday's price action, I think we are rejecting this daily 200 SMA, which is also the new monthly pivot. And if we do continue to reject this price level, support would be at 1.693. that is the monthly S1. So yeah, I'll try to not see things much beyond this at this stage, but it does appear that we could see a rejection followed by a test of this monthly S1. Concluding our Forex analysis, USDJPY, this one has indeed found some support from the new monthly S1 pivot, as well as of course the daily 100 SMA. I'm still expecting a move higher towards the diagonal resistance somewhere in the vicinity of 116.9. We have some rejection from this previous area of overhead resistance, but once we clear that, you can see actually there's the monthly pivot and weekly pivot all very close together for this week. So maybe we have a little bit of a taste of this area and then continuation higher. So let's just see how that plays out, and of course we will again visit this one next week. Looking at the index or the NASDAQ 100, this one has played out also as we've probably expected it to play out. We had rejection of the yearly pivot and daily 200 SMA. This then sent price towards this area of support that we've identified with this blue box. We can see our price dipped into that, then recovered. Currently still consolidating, but probably the most highest probability move would be a retest of this breakout level at the yearly pivot and monthly pivot and daily 200 SMA. So I'm expecting a pullback towards this area at about 14,950 to 15,000. So definitely be on the lookout for a test of this level. If it gets rejected, we'll probably have further continuation down, although it's possible that we can just get like a V type recovery and we see price move higher. But for now, I think we will have a test of that area. Having a brief look at gold, gold has now rejected that diagonal resistance area. We can see we've also now rejected the yearly pivot, followed through with quite a bit of momentum. We are back in this area of strong support, which we've previously highlighted, where you have our daily 200 to 150 SMAs all converging. I think it does appear that we should be finding some support here with the new monthly and weekly pivots also converging in this level. So I'm going to actually move this area, this little bubble. So we're probably looking for a test again of this area over here. And then whether we see a test of this diagonal long-term support, or whether we then see a continuation and a recovery higher, remains to be seen. But of course, let's just see what the price action does from this area. Finally, let's conclude by looking at cryptocurrency and what Bitcoin is doing. So Bitcoin has seen a very slight recovery. I was expecting actually a bit stronger recovery, perhaps back to this yearly pivot area. But you can see that we are once again very closely following this 21 daily EMA, which is the line in green. And we see the 21 daily EMA is now converging with this area of the monthly pivot. That is at 39,750. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put that label over there. So if we do test that area and get rejection, of course, as I've previously pointed out, I still see test in the near term of this 26,500 level at some stage. And if we do get rejection from here, it's possible that we will see that being realized. If we do get a recovery from here, then we'll probably see that retest of the yearly pivot. And then of course we have to see what price does from there. But I think in the near term that should be sufficient to give us at least some direction in terms of what we might expect for price and Bitcoin for the week to come. Thank you very much for watching. We will be back again same time next week. So until then, we wish you all the best of your trading, and remember, trade smart and trade successful.